Taeho stood at the edge of the crystal platform, staring at the stars above Myeongsong. The sacred moon was quiet tonight, just like every other night for the past 5 years. He had grown used to the silence. The temple behind him glowed softly with blue light, its ancient walls humming with power that nobody else could hear anymore. He was alone, the last guardian of the temple of the eternal light, the last person who still believed this place mattered. Taeho walked back inside, his boots echoing through empty hallways. The temple was massive, built by a race called the Architects thousands of years ago. They had filled it with knowledge from 100 different worlds. Every book, every memory, every piece of wisdom from civilizations that no longer existed. The Celestial Archive, they called it. The most important library in the galaxy. But nobody came here anymore. Not since the Great Silence 300 years ago, when most of the advanced alien races simply vanished. Some people said they went to another dimension. Others said they destroyed themselves. Taeho did not know the truth. He only knew that humanity had survived, and someone needed to protect what the old races left behind. That someone was him. He reached the central chamber where the temple's heart pulsed with soft light. The crystalline core was beautiful, like a star trapped in glass. Taeho knelt before it as he did every morning and closed his eyes. The ritual helped him focus. It reminded him why he stayed. His mentor had taught him this ritual before she died. She had told him that the temple was more than just a building. It was alive in its own way, watching and waiting for someone worthy to unlock its secrets. Taeho had been trying to prove himself worthy for 5 years. So far, the temple had not responded. A sudden alarm shattered the peace. Red lights flashed across the walls. Taeho jumped to his feet, his heart racing. The proximity sensors had not gone off in 3 years. He ran to the command console and pulled up the scanner display. His blood turned cold. 50 warships were entering the Myeongsong system. Their signatures marked them as Void Raiders, a mercenary fleet known for raiding ancient sites and selling whatever they found. They were still 3 days away, but they were coming straight for the temple. Taeho's hand shook as he typed commands into the console. He sent an emergency signal to the nearest Human Defense Force station. The reply came back within minutes. The message was short and brutal. The closest fleet was 3 weeks away. They could not help him in time. He was on his own. Taeho sat down heavily in his chair. 50 warships, thousands of soldiers, against one man with no military training. The smart choice would be to run. He had a small ship in the hangar. He could escape to the nearest inhabited world and let the raiders take whatever they wanted. But if they took the Celestial Archive, they would sell its secrets to the highest bidder. Weapons that could destroy planets. Technology that could make one species rule over all others. The knowledge inside this temple was dangerous in the wrong hands. His mentor's voice echoed in his memory. Some things are worth dying for. Taeho stood up. He was not a soldier. He was not a hero. He was just a 28-year-old man who had spent too many years studying old books. But he was the guardian of this temple. That meant something. He went deep into the restricted sections of the archive, areas he had never been allowed to enter before. The temple's security systems recognized him as the last guardian and opened the sealed doors. Inside, he found what he was looking for: defense protocols. The architects had built weapons into the temple itself. Energy shields that could stop plasma fire. Automated turrets hidden in the mountain. Systems powerful enough to hold off an army. But there was a cost. The defense systems needed a living mind to control them. Someone had to connect directly to the temple's crystalline core, linking their consciousness with the ancient machinery. The files said the survival rate was 1%. Almost everyone who tried it died. Taeho read the instructions 3 times. He looked at the diagrams showing how the connection worked. He studied everything carefully, knowing he might only get one chance. Then he went to his small quarters and recorded a message. He spoke to the camera, trying to keep his voice steady. "Brother, if you are watching this, I am probably dead. I know you told me to leave this place. I know you said I was wasting my life here. Maybe you were right, but I cannot let these raiders steal the archive. The knowledge here could save lives or destroy worlds. I have to try to stop them. Please understand. Please forgive me. Take care of yourself, Minho. I love you." He saved the message and sent it to his brother's military address. Then he spent the next 2 days preparing. He activated what defense systems he could control manually, He studied the terrain around the temple, looking for choke points and defensive positions. He ate well and rested, knowing he would need his strength. On the third day, the Void Raiders arrived. Their fleet filled the sky above Myeongsong. Taeho watched from the temple's observation deck as the massive ships moved into orbit. They were so large they blocked out the stars. He counted at least 5,000 fighters and dropships. This was not just a raid. This was an invasion. A communication signal blinked on his console. Someone from the fleet wanted to talk. Taeho accepted the call. A man's face appeared on the screen. He had cold eyes and a cruel smile. Hyunwoo, the commander of the Void Raiders. Taeho had heard stories about him. A human who had turned mercenary, selling his services to anyone who paid. He had destroyed colonies and murdered innocents without mercy. So one little guardian thinks he can stop my entire fleet? Hyunwoo laughed. That is adorable. Listen carefully, boy. You have one chance. Surrender now, open the archive, and I will let you leave alive. Refuse, and I will tear that temple apart stone by stone. You have 5 minutes to decide. Taeho looked at the man on the screen. He thought about running. He thought about surrendering. He thought about all the reasons why fighting was stupid and pointless. Then he thought about his mentor, about the trust she had placed in him, about all the civilizations that had fallen and left their wisdom here, hoping someone would protect it. He smiled at Hyunwoo. Come and take it. He closed the communication channel. Hyunwoo's face disappeared from the screen. For a moment there was only silence. Then the sky filled with fire as thousands of dropships began their descent. Taeho ran to the temple's heart. He placed his hands on the crystalline core, feeling its warmth against his palms. The connection process would take time, and he needed to activate the basic defenses first. He closed his eyes and reached out with his mind, touching the ancient systems sleeping in the temple's walls. Energy shields flickered to life around the mountain. Weapon platforms rose from hidden compartments. The temple was waking up, preparing for war. Taeho stood alone at the center of it all, one human against an army. He was terrified. His hands would not stop shaking. But he did not run. Some things were worth dying for. The first wave of raiders would arrive in 10 minutes. Taeho took a deep breath and began the battle that would change everything. The first drop pods hit the ground like meteors. Taeho watched from the temple's command center as thousands of Void Raiders poured out of their ships. They moved in organized formations, spreading across the mountain like a dark wave. Their armor was black and red, and they carried weapons that glowed with deadly energy. Taeho's fingers moved across the control panel. He had studied the temple's defense systems for 2 days straight, memorizing every function. Now it was time to see if his preparation was enough. The first line of raiders reached the outer perimeter. Taeho pressed a button. Blue energy shields materialized out of nowhere, surrounding the mountain in a dome of light. The raiders stopped, surprised. Then the weapon platforms activated. Ancient turrets rose from hidden positions in the rocks, their barrels glowing with power. They fired. Beams of pure energy cut through the first wave of attackers. Explosions lit up the mountainside. Raiders scattered, trying to find cover, but the turrets tracked them with impossible accuracy. In 30 seconds, the first assault was destroyed. Taeho allowed himself a small smile. The architects had built their defenses well, but Hyunwoo was not stupid. The next wave came more carefully. They used heavy shields and stayed behind cover. They brought up armored vehicles and began testing the energy barrier, looking for weak points. Taeho adjusted the shield frequency, keeping them out, but he knew this was only the beginning. For 3 days, the battle continued. Taeho barely slept. He moved through the temple like a ghost, using his knowledge of the ancient structure to his advantage. The temple had dozens of hidden passages and secret chambers. He used them all. When raiders tried to climb the eastern cliff, Taeho triggered a rock slide that buried them. When they attempted to dig tunnels under the shields, he flooded the passages with water from underground springs. When their aircraft tried to fly over the mountain, the temple's anti-air systems shot them down. He was one man, but he fought like an army. On the second day, Taeho left the safety of the temple to strike at the raiders directly. He knew the mountain better than anyone. He knew where the narrow paths were, where the shadows fell, where a single man could disappear and reappear like smoke. He set traps in the ravines. He sabotaged supply lines. He used the temple's sensor systems to track enemy movements and stay 3 steps ahead. The Void Raiders lost hundreds of soldiers trying to catch him. They never succeeded. Yunwu screamed orders at his commanders. How is one human doing this? He is making us look like fools. Find him and kill him! But Taiho was always somewhere else, striking where they least expected, vanishing before they could respond. He was exhausted, running on pure determination, but he refused to stop. On the third day, everything changed. Yunwu brought in the heavy weapons. Massive plasma cannons, each one the size of a building, were positioned around the mountain. These were siege weapons designed to crack open fortified planets. Against them, even the temple's ancient shields would not last long. Taiho watched from the observation deck as the cannons charged. Their barrels glowed brighter and brighter, building up devastating energy. He checked the shield status. At full power, they might hold for 3 hours, maybe 4 if he was lucky. After that, the temple would be defenseless. He had delayed them as long as possible. He had hurt them, made them bleed, proved that one human could stand against thousands, but it was not enough. It would never be enough. Taiho made his way to the temple's heart. The crystalline core pulsed with its steady blue light, beautiful and patient. He had studied the connection protocol. He knew what he had to do. The full defense system could only be activated by linking a living consciousness directly to the temple. Once connected, he would control every weapon, every shield, every system with the speed of thought. The temple would become an extension of his body, but the energy required would burn through a human mind in minutes. The files had been clear about that. 99 out of 100 people died during the connection. The 100th person usually died shortly after. Taiho stood before the core, his hands trembling. He was not ready to die. He was only 28 years old. He had so many things he still wanted to do, to see, to experience. The thought of ending here alone on a forgotten moon terrified him. But if he did not do this, the raiders would take the celestial archive. They would sell weapons to tyrants and knowledge to fools. Millions would die because he was too afraid to act. His mentor's words came back to him. Some things are worth dying for. Taiho took a deep breath and placed both hands on the crystalline core. It was warm, almost alive. He closed his eyes and began the connection sequence, following the ancient instructions step by step. Pain exploded through his body. It felt like lightning in his veins, fire in his brain. He screamed, but he did not let go. The temple's consciousness was vast and old, touching his mind with alien thoughts and impossible memories. He saw civilizations rise and fall. He felt the weight of thousands of years. He was dying. He could feel his body breaking down, his mind tearing apart under the strain. Then something changed. The crystal began to sing. It was a sound beyond hearing, a vibration that shook reality itself. The entire temple resonated with it, and the sound spread across the mountain, across the whole moon. Every void raider on the surface fell to their knees, overwhelmed by the psychic frequency. Taiho's eyes snapped open. The pain was gone. In its place was light, brilliant and pure, flooding the chamber. The crystalline core blazed like a captive star, so bright he should have been blinded, but he could see perfectly. He could see everything. A voice spoke in his mind, ancient and powerful, yet somehow gentle. "Who dares defend my sanctuary?" Taiho tried to answer, but his voice would not work. His body felt strange, distant, as if he was floating. Through his fading awareness, he saw something materializing in the light before him. A figure made of pure radiance, humanoid but clearly not human, glowing with power that made the air shimmer. She was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. A being beyond mortal understanding. The goddess. Seraphine, the guardian of the temple. Sleeping for 300 years, awakened at last. She looked at Taiho with eyes like stars. "You were willing to die for my temple? You stood alone against thousands. Why?" Taiho's consciousness was fading fast. He managed to form one thought, one answer that came from the deepest part of his heart. Because some things are worth dying for. The goddess smiled. The expression transformed her face, making her seem almost human. She reached out with a hand of light and touched his forehead. "Then sleep, brave guardian. You have earned your rest. And when you wake, we will show these invaders what it means to threaten the sacred." Darkness took Taiho, but it was gentle, like falling asleep after a long day. His last thought was that he had done his duty. He had protected the temple. He could rest now. Outside the temple, the Void Raiders picked themselves up from the ground, shaken and confused. The singing had stopped, but they could still feel its echo in their bones. Hyunwoo stared at the temple, which now blazed with light so bright it hurt to look at. For the first time in his life, he felt real fear. What have we awakened? Tejo opened his eyes to a world of light. He was floating in crystal energy, suspended in warmth and safety. There was no pain. His body felt whole and strong, better than it had ever felt before. A presence surrounded him, vast and ancient, but somehow gentle. He could feel her consciousness touching his, reading his memories, understanding everything he was. The goddess spoke, her voice filling his mind. You are awake. Good. I was worried I acted too late. Tejo tried to speak, but no sound came out. The goddess seemed to understand anyway. Do not try to talk yet. Your body needs time to adjust. I healed your injuries, all of them. Even the old ones you thought were permanent. The connection to the temple core should have killed you, but I stopped the process before it could. You are safe now. Questions flooded through Tejo's mind. Why did you save me? Who are you? What happens now? The light around him shifted and changed. The goddess materialized before him, taking a form he could properly see. She appeared as a woman made of pure radiance, wearing robes that seemed to be woven from starlight. Her face was kind but carried the weight of ages. I am Seraphine, she said. The architects created me to guard this temple and judge those who seek its knowledge. I have been dormant for 300 years since the Great Silence. In all that time, only one person has proven worthy of awakening me. She gestured, and Tejo found himself standing on solid ground. The temple's heart chamber surrounded them, but everything looked different now. The walls glowed with power, and he could see patterns of energy flowing through the crystal structure. You stood alone against thousands, Seraphine continued. Not because you were strong, not because you thought you could win, but because you believed protecting this knowledge was more important than your own life. That is the quality I was created to recognize. Tejo finally found his voice. The raiders, are they still out there? Yes, Seraphine said. They are preparing their siege weapons, but they will not succeed. Now that I am awake, the temple has its full power again. I could destroy them all in seconds if I chose, then why do you not? Tejo asked. Because I want to know what you would do, the goddess replied. You awakened me. You passed the test, so I will follow your judgment. Should I destroy these invaders? Or is there another way? Tejo stared at her. She was offering him the power to end the battle instantly. All he had to do was say the word, and the Void Raiders would be obliterated. But something in him resisted that easy answer. Most of those soldiers did not choose to be here, he said slowly. Hyunwoo commands them, but they are just following orders. If we kill them all, we are no better than the tyrants this temple was meant to protect against. Seraphine smiled. That is why you were worthy. You have power now, but you still think about mercy. What do you propose? Give them a chance to leave, Tejo said. Show them your power, but do not kill unless you must. Let them see that they are fighting something beyond their understanding. Maybe some of them will be smart enough to run. The goddess considered his words. Then she nodded. Very well. Let us send a message they cannot ignore. She raised her hand, and Tejo felt the temple's power surge around them. The walls sang with energy. Light poured from every crystal surface. Outside, the Void Raiders looked up in shock as the entire mountain blazed like a second sun. Seraphine extended her consciousness across the moon. Tejo could feel her awareness spreading, touching every raider, reading their thoughts and intentions. She saw their fears, their desires, their reasons for being here. Some seek knowledge, she said. Some are here only for money. Some follow orders without question, and some enjoy violence for its own sake. Beams of light lanced down from the temple. They struck with perfect precision, hitting weapons and vehicles but avoiding people. Plasma cannons exploded. Armored transports melted into slag. In 10 seconds, the Void Raiders lost half their heavy equipment. Then Seraphine spoke, her voice echoing across every communication channel. I am Seraphine, guardian of the Celestial Archive. This temple is under my protection. Those who came seeking knowledge may approach peacefully and be welcomed. Those who came seeking plunder have one chance to leave alive. Choose quickly. Chaos erupted in the raider camps. Soldiers argued with their commanders. Some began packing up to leave. Others prepared to fight. The fleet above started maneuvering, unsure whether to retreat or attack. Hyunwoo's face appeared on the temple's communication screen. His expression was twisted with rage. You think a light show frightens me? I have a weapon that can tear this moon apart. Surrender the archive or I will destroy everything. Teho stepped forward to respond, but Seraphine held up a hand. He is bluffing, she said. His weapon is real, but using it would kill everyone on the surface, including his own forces. He hopes fear will make us surrender. Can you stop the weapon? Teho asked. Yes, but it would require me to use all my power. I would have to go dormant again afterward. You would be alone once more. Teho thought carefully. There had to be another way. Hyunwoo was counting on them being afraid of his weapon. But what if they were not afraid? What if they called his bluff? Can you broadcast a message to all the raiders, he asked. Not just Hyunwoo, but every soldier in his fleet. Of course, Seraphine said. What do you have in mind? We tell them the truth, Teho said. We tell them about the weapon and what it will do. We give them a choice. The goddess smiled again. You continue to surprise me, human. Very well. Speak your truth. Teho faced the communication screen. Seraphine made sure every raider could hear him. Attention, all Void Raider forces. My name is Teho. I am the guardian of this temple. Your commander, Hyunwoo, has a weapon called a Void Ripper. If he uses it, this moon will be destroyed. But here is what he did not tell you. The weapon does not discriminate. It will kill everyone on the surface. That includes all of you. He paused, letting that sink in. Hyunwoo is willing to sacrifice thousands of his own soldiers rather than admit defeat. Is that the kind of commander you want to follow? The goddess has offered you peace. You can leave now and live, or you can stay and die for a leader who sees you as disposable. Choose wisely. The communication channels exploded with chatter. Soldiers demanding answers from their officers. Commanders questioning Hyunwoo. The seed of rebellion had been planted. Seraphine watched the chaos spread through the enemy forces. Fascinating, she said. You defeated them without firing a shot. You simply told them the truth and let them make their own choices. It might not work, Teho admitted. Hyunwoo might still activate the weapon. Then we will stop him, Seraphine said, together. But I think you have already won this battle. Look. She showed him what was happening in the raider fleet. Entire units were refusing orders. Ships were breaking formation and preparing to jump away. Hyunwoo's second-in-command, a soldier named Ji-hoon, was gathering support for a mutiny. The Void Raiders were tearing themselves apart from within. Teho felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Maybe this would work. Maybe nobody else had to die. But then warning alarms blared across the temple systems. Seraphine's expression darkened. The weapon, she said. He is activating it anyway. Hyunwoo's face appeared on the screen one last time. His eyes were wild with rage and desperation. If I cannot have the archive, nobody will. Goodbye, Guardian. The screen went dark. Above the moon, aboard Hyunwoo's flagship, the Void Ripper began to charge. The Void Ripper charged with terrifying speed. Teho could see it on the temple's sensors. Energy building inside the massive weapon like a caged storm. When it fired, the dimensional rift would tear the moon apart. How long do we have? He asked. Seraphine studied the readings. 10 minutes, maybe less. The weapon is unstable. Hyunwoo is rushing the charge sequence. Can you stop it from here? Not without going to the weapon directly. I would need to flood its core with null energy. That means getting inside his flagship. Teho thought fast. We need a strike team. Someone has to board that ship and reach the weapon before it fires. Before Seraphine could respond, new signals appeared on the sensors. Ships were dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Teho's heart leaped when he recognized their signatures. Human Defense Force. His people had come. The fleet was small, only 3 destroyers and a dozen fighters. They were outnumbered 10 to 1. But they had come anyway. A communication request came through. Teho accepted it immediately. His brother's face filled the screen. Minho looked older than Teho remembered. His uniform was crisp, his expression stern, but his eyes were full of worry. Little brother. I got your message. Took me 3 weeks to get here. Sorry I am late. Teho felt tears in his eyes. He had never been so happy to see anyone in his life. You came. I thought you would not make it in time. Of course I came. You are my brother. Minho smiled briefly. Then his expression turned serious. Now tell me what is happening. My sensors show a doomsday weapon charging on that flagship. Teho quickly explained the situation. Minho listened carefully, his military training showing in how fast he processed the information. We need to board that ship, Minho said. My Marines can do it, but we will need a distraction. Can your goddess help with that? Seraphine spoke, her voice carrying through the communication channel. I can create a diversion, but you will need someone who knows the weapon's design. Someone who can guide you to the right location quickly. I will go, Taiho said immediately. Absolutely not, Minho replied. You are not a soldier, Taiho. Leave this to the professionals. I studied the weapons files in the archive, Taiho insisted. I know how it works. I know where the core is located. You need me. The brothers stared at each other through the screen. Finally, Minho sighed. You have changed, little brother. Fine, but you follow my orders on that ship. Understood? Understood, Taiho said. The plan came together quickly. Seraphine would attack the Void Raider fleet with the Temple's weapons, forcing them to focus on defense. During the chaos, Minho's Marines would assault the flagship. Taiho would guide them to the Void Ripper's core, and Seraphine would disable it remotely through a connection to Taiho. It was risky. So many things could go wrong, but it was their only chance. Taiho left the temple for the first time in days. A shuttle from Minho's fleet picked him up and he boarded his brother's destroyer. The Marines looked at him with curiosity and respect. Word had spread about the lone guardian who held off an entire fleet. Minho met him in the armory and handed him combat armor. Put this on, and take this. He gave Taiho a pistol. Do you remember how to use it? Taiho checked the weapon automatically. Their father had taught both brothers to shoot when they were young. I remember. Good, stay close to me. If things go bad, I want you to run. Do not try to be a hero, Taiho smiled. Too late for that. The assault began with Seraphine's attack. Energy beams lanced out from the temple, striking raider ships with devastating accuracy. The fleet scattered, trying to return fire, but the goddess was too fast and too powerful. She danced between their attacks like light itself. While the raiders were distracted, Minho's boarding craft streaked toward Hyunwoo's flagship. Stealth systems kept them hidden. Seraphine helped by masking their energy signatures. They hit the flagship's hull hard, cutting through with plasma torches. Marines poured into the ship, moving with practiced efficiency. Taiho stayed with Minho, following the strike team through narrow corridors. Alarms blared. The flagship's crew knew they had been boarded. Defenders rushed to stop them, but Minho's Marines were some of the best humanity had to offer. They advanced steadily, pushing toward the reactor section where the Void Ripper was housed. Taiho guided them through the ship's layout, using the knowledge he had gained from the archive files. Turn left here. The reactor is 3 levels down. There should be a maintenance shaft ahead. They reached the reactor room with 2 minutes to spare. The Void Ripper dominated the chamber, a massive device that hummed with building power. Energy arced across its surface, and Taiho could feel reality bending around it. Hyunwoo stood beside the weapon, his hand on a control panel. He looked surprised to see them, then angry. You should have run, little guardian. Now you die with everyone else. He slammed his hand down on the activation button, but nothing happened. Hyunwoo pressed it again and again, confusion replacing his confidence. The weapon was not responding. Taiho stepped forward and Seraphine's voice echoed through the room. Did you really think we came here without a plan? Light poured from Taiho's hands, channeled through him from the temple. Seraphine had connected to the weapon the moment they entered the chamber. She flooded it with null energy, neutralizing the dimensional charge. The Void Ripper shuddered and went dark. Its surface crystallized, becoming inert and harmless. In seconds, the most dangerous weapon in the sector became nothing more than an expensive sculpture. Hyunwoo stared in disbelief. Then he screamed and drew his weapon, aiming at Taiho. Minho was faster. He fired once and Hyunwoo's gun flew from his hand. Marines rushed forward and restrained the mercenary commander before he could move. It is over, Minho said. Stand down. But it was not Minho who ended it. Jihoon, Hyunwoo's second-in-command, entered the chamber with a dozen other raiders. For a moment, everyone tensed, weapons ready. Then Jihoon lowered his gun. We are done, he announced. The fleet has voted. Hyunwoo is no longer our commander. We surrender to the Guardian and the Goddess. Hyunwoo struggled against his restraints, cursing and threatening, but nobody listened. His own people had turned against him. The battle was over. Not with a massive explosion or heroic last stand. It ended with a choice. The Void Raiders chose peace over destruction, life over pride. Taiho felt Seraphine's presence withdraw from his mind. Her voice was warm with approval. Well done, Guardian. You won through wisdom, not violence. The architects would be proud. Minho put a hand on his brother's shoulder. You did it. You actually did it. We did it, Taiho corrected. All of us together. As they left the flagship, Taiho looked back at the frozen Void Ripper. It had been built to destroy, but now it would stand as a monument to a different kind of victory, the kind where everyone lives. The days after the battle were strange. The temple grounds filled with people for the first time in years. Human Defense Force soldiers, former Void Raiders, diplomats, and scientists all came to see the awakened goddess and meet the guardian who had defended her sanctuary alone. Taiho found it overwhelming. He had spent 5 years in solitude, and now he could not walk 10 steps without someone wanting to talk to him. They called him a hero. They asked for his story again and again. He did not feel like a hero. He had just done what needed to be done. Minho stayed for a week, helping coordinate the cleanup and processing the surrender. In the evenings, the brothers would sit together on the crystal platform, watching the stars like they had when they were children. "I thought you were crazy," Minho admitted one night. "When you told me you wanted to be a temple guardian, I thought you were wasting your life on ancient history." Taiho smiled. "You were not wrong. It did seem crazy, but you were right," Minho continued. "This place matters. What you protected here matters. I'm sorry I did not understand before. You came when I needed you. That is all that matters." The brothers sat in comfortable silence, the bond between them stronger than ever. On the 8th day, Seraphine called for Taiho. He found her in the temple's heart, standing before the crystalline core. She looked different now, more solid, more present. Awakening had changed her. "It is time," she said. "Time for your reward." "I do not need a reward," Taiho replied. "I did not do this for payment, I know. That is exactly why you deserve one. Come, let me show you something." She led him deep into the archive, past the areas he had explored, into chambers that had remained sealed for millennia. The doors opened for her touch, revealing wonders beyond imagination. In one chamber, devices that could reshape matter with thought. In another, formulas for medicines that could cure any disease. In a third, weapons that could destroy entire star systems. Knowledge that could make humanity the most powerful species in the galaxy. "All of this is in the archive," Seraphine said. "The architects left their greatest achievements here. Choose anything you wish. It is yours." Taiho walked through the chambers slowly. He touched nothing. He examined each treasure carefully, understanding their power and potential. Finally, he turned back to the goddess. "These things are dangerous," he said. "In the wrong hands, they would cause more harm than good. Humanity is not ready for this power. We are too young, too reckless." Seraphine smiled. "That is a wise answer. But surely there is something you want, something that would help your people without endangering them." Taiho thought carefully. "There is, if you are willing to share it. Name it. Knowledge. Not weapons or technology. Wisdom. Philosophy. Ethics. The educational archives. Let humanity learn from the mistakes and successes of the civilizations that came before. Help us grow wiser, not just stronger." The goddess studied him for a long moment. Then she laughed, a sound like crystal bells. "You continue to surprise me, Taiho. Most beings who stood where you stand would grab the most powerful weapon they could find. But you ask for books and lessons. Books and lessons change civilizations," Taiho replied. "Weapons just change who is in charge." Seraphine nodded slowly. "You are truly worthy, very well. I grant your request, but I offer something more." She reached out and touched his forehead. Energy flowed between them, warm and gentle. "I give you a connection to the archive. Not to control it, but to access it. You will be able to draw on this knowledge when you need it. You will remain mortal, remain human, but you will carry the wisdom of ages within you." Taiho gasped as information flooded into his mind. Not overwhelming, not painful, but present, like having a vast library in his thoughts that he could consult at will. Languages, sciences, histories, philosophies from 100 dead civilizations now lived in him. "This is incredible," he whispered. "It is also a responsibility," Seraphine warned. "This knowledge is not for you alone. You must share it, teach it, help your people grow. Will you accept this burden?" Taiho did not hesitate. "I will. Then there is one more thing." The goddess gestured to the temple around them. "This place needs a proper guardian, someone who understands its purpose and can judge who should be allowed to learn from it. I offer you that position. Stay here. Be my partner in protecting and sharing this knowledge. Together we can build something new." "What do you mean?" Taiho asked. "A school, an academy. We will invite students from all species, teach them the wisdom of the past, prepare them to build a better future. You will be the first headmaster. I will be the eternal teacher. What do you say? Taeho thought about returning to normal life. He could leave the temple, find a different career, live an ordinary existence. Part of him wanted that simplicity, but he knew he would never be satisfied with ordinary again. This was his calling. This was where he belonged, I accept, he said. Let us build this academy together. Seraphine smiled, bright and genuine. Then we have much work to do. 3 months later, the Temple Academy opened its doors. Word spread quickly across the galaxy. The goddess had awakened. The archive was opening. Students came from dozens of worlds, human and alien alike, all seeking to learn. Taeho stood at the temple entrance on opening day, watching the first shuttle arrive. Young humans, nervous and excited, stepped out onto the crystal platform. They looked around in wonder at the glowing walls and magnificent architecture. Seraphine materialized beside him, visible now to all who visited the temple. Welcome, she said to the students. You have come to learn the wisdom of ages. We will teach you science and history, philosophy and ethics, but most importantly, we will teach you what it means to be worthy of knowledge. The students listened with rapt attention. Taeho smiled. This was right. This was how knowledge should be shared. Minho visited often, bringing news from the wider galaxy. The Void Raiders who had surrendered were being rehabilitated. Many joined the defense force or found honest work. Hyunwoo faced trial for his crimes. The galaxy was healing from years of chaos and violence, and at the center of it all was the temple, shining like a beacon of hope. 20 years passed. The Temple Academy became the most respected educational institution in the known galaxy. Its graduates served as diplomats, scientists, teachers, and peacekeepers. They spread wisdom instead of weapons, understanding instead of fear. Taeho aged gracefully. His hair turned gray, but his eyes remained sharp. He taught a class on philosophy every morning, sharing the lessons he had learned through sacrifice and determination. Students loved him, not because he was the legendary guardian, but because he genuinely cared about their growth. Seraphine remained unchanged, eternal and patient. She watched her partner with something very much like pride. Together they had built something beautiful. One evening, after classes ended, Taeho stood on the same platform where he had waited for the Void Raiders all those years ago. Seraphine joined him as she often did. Do you ever regret it? She asked. Giving up a normal life to stay here? Never, Taeho replied. This is exactly where I am supposed to be. You gave everything to defend this temple, the goddess said softly, and in return I gave you everything so that what you protected could be shared with the galaxy. We still have so much work to do, Taeho said with a smile. Seraphine laughed. Yes, we do, and that is exactly how it should be. They stood together in comfortable silence, guardian and goddess, teacher and student, partners in the greatest work either had ever known. The temple glowed behind them, warm and welcoming, a home for knowledge and wisdom. He had defended the temple alone. She had risen and rewarded him. Together they had changed the galaxy, and their work was only beginning.